Welcome into Teal the Show, the first Teal the Show of the season. You know what that means? Football season is finally here, and I'm so excited about it. We've also got 1010XL's Frank Frangie here. Frank, Jaguars getting ready to start training camp, so we've kind of got to set the table on what everyone can expect for it. A lot of excitement around this team. I feel like the excitement has just been building from the second the team walked off the field in Kansas City.
Jamal, I've been around this team from the get-go, from the first year they ever played in 1995. And I can't ever remember this much off-season excitement about the football team. Look, they were excited in 2018 because they had a good finish in 17, but it didn't feel like this. I think this feels sustainable. I think people are excited about the coach, about the quarterback. They're picked to win the AFC South by just about everybody. There's a lot of excitement in the air. You better believe it.
Now, with excitement comes expectations, Frank, and that's something that the Jaguars aren't really used to. This fan base isn't really used to it. There haven't been a whole lot of lofty expectations heading into a football season for this team in a long time. I mean, since maybe 2017. But this year, you'd mentioned it, people think they're going to win the AFC South. So anything short of that means disappointment, right?
I will tell you, the one difference this team is going to have that its predecessors didn't have is that, Jamal. They're going to have expectations. People expect them to win. And when you're 3-7 last year, people said, you know, they're still moving in the right direction. They're better than their record. But you lose games this year and people are going to be upset because the expectations are higher. Now, I think this team's built to handle that. The culture's good. The coach, Doug Peterson's an easygoing guy. Trevor Lawrence obviously is an unflappable guy. So they're built to handle the expectations. But there's still expectation. That'll be different than anything this group collectively has ever faced.
Now, I'm just going to add the extra expectation. Hopefully, we're doing these Teal the Shows until we're in Las Vegas in February. If everything goes right, that's what happens, you know? That would be a great season for the Jaguars. Now, part of the Jaguars starting training camp is they're going to open up that new Miller Electric facility, have training camp there. Fans are going to be able to watch the practices. They couldn't do that last year because the team was at Episcopal while their new building was being built. Last time that fans were able to be out at practice was back in 2021, the Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence rookie year season. Before then, I talked to one fan, and Frank, I told you I wanted to play this one for you because it comes with the prediction and the expectations. This all kind of goes together. I'm probably the only person that remembers this guy. I talked to him before the practice out there, and he gave me a perfect timeline of what he expected to happen in the early part of Trevor Lawrence's career and for the Jaguars, and this would be the year that, if he's right, it all comes together.
It's going to be a great season. You know, we not so much looking at record, just the growth. You know what I mean? Super Bowl in 3 years, though. I'm naming it right now.
There it is, Super Bowl in 3 years. This would be year 3, Frank.
Okay. Yeah, that guy was ahead of his time is what he was. He had it all figured out. I wish should have gone back to him last year and talked to him some more. Listen, I hope they win the Super Bowl. I hope they go to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's hard. The AFC is really good, and you know that, Jamal. I mean, Mahomes and Burrow and Allen and Herbert and Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers, they're all in the AFC. I've never seen such a collection of quarterbacks in one conference before. But, yeah, there's this guy named Trevor Lawrence is there, too. I think the Jags are going to have a very good season. I'm not sure they're getting to the Super Bowl. We'll worry about that. We have this when we do Teal the Show in the middle of November, right? But I love where they are. I love the way they're built, and I can't wait to see it all get started.
All right, before we turn back to reality, Frank, I like to call this time of year before training camp kicks off optimism season because every fan base feels like they're going to the Super Bowl. Every fan base feels like that rookie is the next superstar and that free agent signing is all they needed to get over the top. Well, Doug Peterson's going into his second year. We've talked about before what happened in year 2 in Philly, but he's not the only coach that second year is kind of that money number. When you look at it for coaches in the NFL, year 2 is a pretty sweet number. 5 of the last 7 Super Bowls, Frank, have had a coach with their second year leading a team on one of the sidelines. Nick Sirianni had it happen to him last year. For something that year 2, Frank, so that just says the odds are in their favor that some coach with his second year in a team is probably going to make it to the Super Bowl. Doug Peterson just happens to be one of those last 5, so maybe he could do it again.
Dude, you've got me convinced they're going now. I'm now going to go ahead and make my plans for Vegas. All the numbers seem to line up. You're right about that. Hey, look, I think you started seeing some of that year 2 stuff at the end of year 1. There's a reason really good coaches need a little time to figure out their personnel. The personnel to figure out them. Well, that started happening. You could see it at the end of last year when they won a bunch of games in a row. They're well positioned, Jamal. There's no question. You can't control how good the other guy is, but they are well positioned. And Doug Peterson's the right guy. I can tell you this. Doug Peterson's career is not going to end with one Super Bowl championship. I'll tell you that right now. He's winning another one or another two. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's years coming. But Super Bowl winning coaches tend to keep winning them, and I think he's going to.
I tend to agree with you. Doug Peterson is just that good of a coach. We got more coming up of Teal the Show right after this. We'll actually hear from Doug Peterson when we return right after this break. Welcome back into Teal the Show. We've got 1010XL's Frank Frangie here. Frank, training camp's kicking off, and I know everyone is excited. They want to know what they can expect from this team because it's really tough to kind of get a grasp on what to expect. We talked about it in the first half a little bit, how the AFC is just stacked. Doug Peterson's been busy this offseason. Of course, he had to get out on the golf course, but he did take some time during one of these celebrity golf events to talk a little bit about what he thinks the landscape around the AFC looks like and what the Jaguars need to do to catch up.
We got to be real consistent. You know, we got to build on last year, build on the end of the season. We had a nice run into the postseason, but, you know, as a football team, we're not there yet. You know, we're still chasing Kansas City and Buffalo and Cincinnati and some of those top teams in the AFC. So I feel like we got a great quarterback. I feel like we got the nucleus to be good. Ball has to come our way, stay healthy, and good things can happen for us.
All right, Frank, you heard it from the coach himself.
Yeah.
They're playing catch-up behind some of those super teams that have just been there year in and year out that also have phenomenal quarterbacks leading them. How do the Jaguars catch up? They close that.
Well, first of all, he's very matter of fact. I think Doug always has great perspective, Jamal. And like he said, hey, we're better, but we have to play in a league and a conference with a lot of good teams. I think part of that's talking to his players. A lot of coaches will talk to their players a little bit through the media. He's reminding everybody, hey, look, we had a great finish to our season. We have high expectations. But boy, it's a tough road. I think how they catch up, keep doing what they're doing. Number one, add a little bit. They added with Calvin Ridley. They're going to be more explosive, get a better pass rush. They need Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker to do more. I think do what you've been doing and improve a few things here and there. I think the Ridley addition is so big, Jamal. I really do. And they've got to rush the passer better. So you want to get caught up, you're going to play those great quarterbacks, you better be able to get to them for sure.
All right, I'm glad you brought up Calvin Ridley because he was the big addition to the Jaguars offense this offseason. You've been covering the Jaguars a little bit longer than me, Frank. When you look at this Jaguars offense on paper, have you seen a more explosive offense in Jaguars history than what it looks like they're going to be putting out on the field this year?
I haven't. I think this will be the most explosive offense they've ever had. And I think Calvin Ridley will be the only other truly explosive wide receiver they've had in this franchise's history. Jimmy Smith, the great Jimmy Smith, of course, is the other one. They've had really good receivers. Keenan McCardell's a really good receiver. Guys, those guys last year, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk had a great season. Evan Ingram, the best tight end season in Jaguars history. But explosive means one step and you're gone. One step and nobody can cover you. The top's off the defense, so everybody's got to sit back. Calvin Ridley gives you that the way Jimmy Smith did way back in the day. I think this can be and will be the most explosive offense in the Jaguars' 29-year history, Jamal. I really do. I think it can be that good.
Yeah, they know what kind of talent they have on that offensive side of the ball, and I think they expect to go out on the field and score points. Trevor Lawrence, talking back during the offseason program, said that they're going to score just enough points that they need to, whatever week. If that's 35, if that's 15, if it's 20, they're going to score enough to win.
Obviously, we want to score as many points as we can, but at the end of the day, if we got one more point than the other team, that's what it's about.
It's like that if whether you win by an inch or you win by a mile, as long as you win. It sounds like that's how they're approaching it, but they know just how much talent they have on that offensive side of the ball, especially when you got Doug Peterson calling the plays, because he's one of the best offensive play designers and play callers in the league.
Yeah, no question about that, Jamal. Let me go back to what Trevor said, too, because he's exactly right. Even the Kansas City Chiefs win some games 17-14, and they have the best offense in the league, and they have for a few years. The way the NFL is designed, the game goes very fast. It's not like a college game where there's 75, 80 snaps. Every team has about 57 snaps, and that's a high number. So the game moves quickly in the NFL. A couple turnovers, a couple bad possessions, a drop pass here or there, and all of a sudden 17-14 is your score, not 37-34. But understand this. The best offense, we're in an age now where the best offense wins. That's the way we are. The best offense is going to win the game. The best offense might not score 40 points, but it's generally going to score more points than the other guy because it can score when it needs to. Again, Patrick Mahomes might win a game 17-10, but he got those 17 points when he had to get them. I think that's how the Jaguars are going to play. Score enough. Now, there's going to be some high-scoring games because that's what you're going to have to score. but they're a team that can. They're going to be a team that can score when they need to. That was Trevor's point, and I agree with it.
All right, we've talked about the offense for a little bit. We got to give the defense a little bit of love. One of the guys that the Jaguars are going to need to take a step forward, Trayvon Walker. He gave them a lot last year, but they need a little bit more from him as a pass rusher. Got the chance to sit down with Trayvon Walker during the offseason, and he said that year 2 he just feels more comfortable.
Coming in before OTAs, I kind of had an idea of how the defense would still be, how it would be ran. And it just, with me coming in, knowing like the scheme already a little bit and have played for Coach Caldwell, I feel like I'll be able to play a lot faster this year because a lot of the things that I was just learning last year, I have that under my belt, so now I can just iron out the wrinkles.
The Jaguars knew they were getting a little bit of a project, but the ceiling for this guy is so high. Frank, what can Jaguars fans and the team expect from Trayvon Walker in year 2?
Well, the phrase he used with you, Jamal, he's been using, and that's play faster. What happens with young defensive players at any level, and this happens with any of them, is you're a little confused because it's a different defense you're in, a different scheme, different terminology. You don't want to be out of position. You want to make sure you're in the right spot. So you think just a little bit. I don't care who you are. When you get into the league, you tend to think a little bit to make sure you're doing it right. By year 2, when you're now familiar with the league, you're familiar with the offensive players, you're familiar with your scheme and the terminology, well, now you play faster because now it's instinctive. If Trayvon Walker can get to where he plays in an instinctive nature, not in a thinking nature, he's got a chance to be a really good player. Move, go, react. Don't think, react. He's going to be really good. And by the way, you hit it. He's the most important step forward the Jaguars can have. Every young player gets a little bit better, but he's one that has to. They did not have a great exterior pass rush last year. That was an Achilles heel of the team. Everybody knows that. They know that. The opponents know that. They've got to get to the passer better. He and Josh Allen have to do more than they did. They're both good players. They're both great guys. They're both hard workers, but they've got to do more than they did. Trayvon's a gigantic part of their growth this year, Jamal. He really, really is.
He's going to be one of the players I'm watching closely as the Jaguars kick off training camp this week. Frank, are there any other players that just stand out in your mind that you want to keep a close eye to as they get out on the football field? Because we need those young guys to really take that step forward.
Yeah, number one, as far as guys you want to watch, we're all going to watch Ridley, aren't we? We all want to watch Ridley the minute we get out there and see how he meshes with those other receivers. But yeah, I agree with you on young players. Devin Lloyd's got to do more. He was a first-round draft pick. He's such an athletic guy. He can do so much. Chad Muma's going to have to step forward. I think he's going to step forward. I think he needs to. Look, I think some of the defensive linemen have to play better. Foley Fatukasi's had some good moments for the Jets. Didn't have a great year last year. They're not deep on the defensive front, so he's going to have to play. So there's some young guys that have to step up and play really well. I really believe that. Offensively, keep an eye on Tank Bigsby. What they did not have last year, Jamal, is a downhill runner. 3rd and a yard and a half. Who we're going to give it to and run right up the middle. I don't think they had that guy. I think Tank Bigsby is that guy. I was very excited about him. So I'd keep an eye on number 4, too, when we're watching guys this week at training camp.
Yeah, I'm interested in Tank Bigsby. I also want to keep have you seen the fullback Derek Parrish, Frank? He is the most fullback-looking player I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
He didn't play fullback in college, but he just looks like a fullback. Like a coach just walked, you got to play fullback, right?
And I'll be interested, Jamal, if he makes the team. That means they want to run that ISO play and run someone right behind him. So yeah, you said it exactly right. He's a fullback-looking guy, isn't he? And I hope he gets it. I hope he makes the team, and I hope we see some of those ISO plays because you don't see that every day in the NFL.
All right, Frank. I know they're kicking off training camp, but we can't wrap this show up without some kind of prediction, right? Some kind of prediction. So this is what we'll do. All right, I asked Justin this a few weeks ago, and I'm going to ask you now. If Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker both end the season with, let's say, 12 sacks each, we plan a trip to Vegas?
If Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker have 12 sacks apiece, the Jacksonville Jaguars will win the AFC. You can write that down. That if they have 12 sacks each, because that means a lot of things. It means they're playing a lot better. That means they're playing from ahead a lot because the other guy's going to have to pass a lot. If that's a gigantic stat. If those two guys become one of the better pass rushing tandems in the league, yes, I think all the other pieces are in place. Write me down for that, Jabali. If you can guarantee me that, I'll be happy all fall long. I promise you that.
Well, we'll keep an eye out on that as training camp kicks off. Remember, training camp starts on Wednesday. We'll have another episode of Teal the Show coming your way on Friday night right here on Channel 4 as we get you rolling through football season. And the regular season's right around the corner. Football season's officially here. Thanks for hanging out with us here in Teal the Show. Good night and go Jags.